5 out of 12. I'm going to do so as if I were speaking to a room full of children, because the more details, and there's so much that I try to provide, and the more organization I attempt to give this situation, the more difficult my three-dimensional in real life becomes, with regards specifically to the crazy making behaviors. I've labeled a number of behaviors as crazy making behaviors, and just for lack of time and energy, I can quickly go over what that means. It's basically when a third party using either ghost technology or setups or malicious third party intervention or malicious third party influence over your partner, or any number of psychological, technological, or just plain old manipulative, methods can be taken to cause a person to go crazy. Crazy making behavior is what I've labeled it. Several months ago, and I have a witness to this, Xavier is sitting in the back seat. Not that it really matters, because I posted on my very first Instagram, the one Heather G, a bunch of the cars that were stalking me. I mean, there was a literal car that was in the same car, Cadillac CTS. I had the same car I bought, paid in full, was literally driving behind and in front of me for miles. I could not get away from it. And the license plate was a vanity license plate that said "nut in me." And I posted video and photo of that and filed the police report. And yet another example out of hundreds, thousands of no action being taken, no investigation being conducted. But I did post it on the One Heather GEE account. That is not Photoshop. That actually happened. There's both video as well as still frame photos. No one still believes me. Now, about, I would say maybe 6 months ago, maybe 5, Xavier and I were leaving a DCFS visit with our son, Weston. I have 4 children. Weston is Xavier's only child. And they posted something on the back of a window shield of an SUV that was like that windshield writing marker that literally said, "Team Heather, go crazy." And since that time, they've been messing with my money, withholding the money that I had been making for 6, 7, 8 months regularly and consistently, causing me to make payments late, misplacing a lot of my items and belongings. That hearing aid that I posted about several years ago, as well as that two-way communication device, or a communication that is taking place without my permission, knowledge, or consent, which would also qualify under assault and harassment, depending on what the verbiages are being, communicated. Xavier, can you explain to them that there was an SUV that pulled strategically and intentionally in front of our car that had the words "Team Heather Go Crazy" written on the back windshield on the Expressway 290? Okay, so we were driving the Kia at that time. I was driving rentals through Hertz and through Avis for the purpose of driving Uber. I purchased a car because every few weeks there would be an invented reason why I would have to switch my car. And to me, I'm not trying to live my life hiding. I'm trying to live my life not needing to hide. I'm trying to live my life feeling safe and peaceful, and switching cars every few weeks, it felt like someone was using the car without my permission during the period that I had it, and I just didn't feel comfortable. So I immediately began looking at how could I purchase a car rather than continue to rent a car. And my car payment is $730 a month, plus insurance $400, a little under. But the car rental was $384 a week. So financially, it just made sense. And with the stalking and all of that, it made sense. This has all been ongoing for almost 6 years, you guys. It's January of 2026 in 1 month. That makes it 6 years. And I can't even believe I'm saying that, because it's like, I just can't believe it. In an evolved society, in a first world country, I have been having the same problems: technological boxing, intentional and blatant issues in communication, lapses, intermittent lapses in communication with my family and loved ones, specifically with my children, and most, prominently and obviously with my youngest daughter, Alexis, the 12-year-old. When none of this shit is going on, I communicate with my children 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times a day on FaceTime video. I never have really felt, other than waking up to, my own circumstances and texting the kids, hey, get up for school, I love you, have a great day, are you on time with your homework, do you need help with anything? Other than, having to text that rather than say that in the car or in the morning, I still, with FaceTime video and audio, have the same role in my children's life that I ever did. So cutting that off or interfering with that is a huge issue for me, and it always has been, and it will always be. There is no reason why I should not be permitted communication with my children. I am their mother legally, biologically. I have custody in the eyes of court, even though one of my daughters is over age and my son is to the age where he can choose, and it would only qualify for Alexis, the court order that I have. And ironically, she's the one who I'm having a difficult time reaching. But there have been a lot of things that took place to Orlando and his family over the last several years, and I don't know. They don't have a clear origin. Everything that went wrong in my life and my family's lives, as I told you guys before, it began as a result of the release of Dylan Smith, inmate number Y12173 from the IDOC in 2019. 3 weeks before he got out, I got jumped and stabbed by 3 women with screwdrivers. Several months after he came out, I did a reality show where my entire reputation was destroyed nationally on TV and the internet. I thought I was agreeing to doing a reality show that was going to be about, overcoming adversity, about making a mistake, serving your time, and being able to move forward. That was going to be eye-opening for some situations, crimes of poverty. That's what I thought I was getting involved in, as well as my own PTSD and OCD explained and decoded. I thought we were going to discuss the issues that I had when I would go to visit Dylan, and I would mentally get overwhelmed by all of the things that prison have. The pat downs, the rude staff, the power and control struggles between the inmates and the staff that work there, who are not much better than the inmates in many cases. These people who are working there are easy to bribe. They're easy to, roll or to roll on, and it's fucked up. And I'm thinking, holy shit, I just observed, 4.5 years of wild corruption, this fucking up, fucking down, theory or policy or play, for lack of a better word. And I'm thinking that this reality show is going to roll out, and it's going to make Dylan and I look like absolute fucking heroes. Wow, this couple went through this lady has PTSD, spent 8.5 hours pretty much rolled up in a ball on the floor of her mother-in-law's Jeep, Paula, crying, about the way that the visit ended in a clear PTSD, issue. And I just went through so much and came out the other end, and was okay despite everything that I went through. And so did he. And I just thought, that the show was going to be for us. The show was going to be for us. The deals, the proffer, everything he was involved in, the officers. So while he was in there, there were numerous times that when you enter into a deal with the United States government, or in the capacity of which my ex entered into a deal with them, they want you to get people in trouble. That is your goal. It's not to find crime that's taking place. If you're in an environment and you tell the state of Illinois or the federal government or local law enforcement agents, hey, there's nothing going on here, that's an unacceptable answer. They don't give a fuck if there's nothing going on there. They want him to bring in deals, just like they look at officers, or historically have looked at officers and detectives for quotas and, worked in an effort to hold them accountable and responsible to completing these arrests or reports or whatever the fuck it is that they have quotas on. It's the same when it was the same for them doing their deals. He was commonly asking, for various items while he was in prison. He was commonly asking me to offer temporary memberships to my sexy content websites for the officers that were in the prison so that they would bring him in different things, steroids, food, random things. They allow photos in there, but they don't allow nude photos. He would ask me to email the photos that I was sending, photo sets that I was sending to paid customers, and nude ones, and he would want me to send them to the security at the prison in Vienna, Illinois, and they would print them off for him and bring them to him and bring him other things in exchange for those photos. These are not jokes or Heather being crazy. These are blatant, and obvious flaws in the criminal justice system and in the system of deal making. Why I would be adversely affected, why my children would be adversely affected is absolutely beyond my level of understanding and comprehension. Usually any sort of authority who's looking for arrests to make or harassment to begin or investigating anything, they're not going to come for me and my children. They're most certainly not going to separate my children and I, which leads me to my next, logical train of thought. Have there been too many fucking ups, and now the authority line is so broken, so torn apart, that there really isn't any authority anymore, and we're putting these people... When I tell you that the people who were working as guards at Joliet were just as bad as the inmates, I swear to God, I mean that shit. There may have been a couple that might remind you of your grandma or your aunt, but for the most part, these were women that were easily, manipulated by flattery. They were not the best looking. They were not the best educated. They made like Cindy fucking Crawford, okay, these ladies that were in there. So, and he was getting whatever he wanted from these people. Oral sex, regular sex. And when I would report it, they would just call me crazy. Why would I report my husband sleeping with an inmate guard at the prison? I mean, you tell me, does that not make sense to you? You're aware that your husband is using you as well as numerous others to set people up. You're not going to say anything? Like, I'm sorry, but my loyalty is real as fuck. You're not going to throw me under a bus and then put it in reverse and back up over it. Fuck you, And I've discussed all of this. And when they put me in these tech boxes, I want to sue. Like, I get over the wanting to sue part. Okay, it's just law enforcement doing their job, investigating, trying to keep us safe. No, dude, you fucking people looked the other way and allowed them to throw me in the street on a narrative that they fed you, spoon-fed you, so that it would make things easier for you to behave in a way that was immoral, illogical, unlawful, and targeted. And I've reported on all of it, and I've written reports with and without ChatGPT. I've done depositions. I've done clinical case studies on myself. Okay, they're saying that it was because I was taking Adderall. I've been on Adderall on and off since I was 17. I've never gone through anything like this before. What does me being on and off Adderall since I was 17 under the direction and prescription of a doctor have to do with everyone around me's life getting fucking shredded into bits and pieces as a result of Dylan coming home? And then on top of that, you have this desire to cover it all up. As soon as I started making these 1 out of 12s, 2 out of 12s, 3 out of 12s, 4 out of 12s, 5 out of 12s, this is 5 out of 12, they started fucking with me IRL again. So they started doing crazy making behaviors. They started doing other things. So, I'm trying to hurry up and get these next, 7 days completed so that I have everything I need for the people to just watch their leisure and then help me with this docu-series. And the documentary, it's not a docu-series, a short documentary. The documentary is not, I'm not making it to try to profit. If I profit, fantastic. I'm making it so that I could profit things like peace of mind, mental health, calmness, peacefulness, understanding across the board, because I spend my days being provoked, antagonized. People are talking shit about me directly to my face, crowding me in the gym, just bullying me. I've already gone through this for 6 years. They don't want me to have a gun because they want these people to be able to fuck with me. Do you not understand? I tried to go take my carry and conceal as soon as Dylan came out of prison. That's when they put me into the psych ward. You can't get a gun license if you've had any inpatient stay in a psychiatric ward. I'm 38 years old. I've never been inpatient in a hospital in my entire adult life for any reason other than giving birth. Ever. I don't have any additional diagnostics or reasoning to be held against my will in any capacity, but let alone an inpatient medical capacity. And my background is in medical law and ethics, new business development, medical assisting phlebotomy, and administration for medical, specifically endocrinology, rheumatology, and cardiovascular interventional surgery. But if you ask them, I'm just, losing my mind. So I don't want to exist here. I feel as though this is an incredibly predatory environment. And I'm not talking about my house or my car. I'm talking about the situation overall, the intentional withholding of communication between my children and I. And then they start saying things. They're very, very, very much threatened by the fact that my children and I have that line of communication and that it's always open. That bothers these people endlessly. They think that somehow my children and I having the line of communication open is taking money from them. My children, I send money, usually $10 2 or 3 times a week to the big kids for lunch, maybe 20. Sometimes my son needs a haircut or sometimes, face wash or other little things. But I haven't been able to reach Alexis in a very long time, 6 or 7 months. That's a 12-year-old little girl that needs her mother. So this is fucking sick. The end of 5 out of 12 is basically going to be an eye-opener on all of the corruption, the fact that deals are occurring and have occurred between these people who have made it their point. Now, what would be the purpose of fucking up rather than down? Well, if you're a person with any sort of hard morals, values, or ethics, you see that someone sitting in prison with their family suffering and struggling to even send them $10 of commissary money, working for an unfair living wage, being treated like a fucking slave, that person probably can't recover from getting fucked over again, And their lives this is real that people do this. Like, I'm not even fucking kidding you. And the most successful people do this shit. But their lives cannot withhold that type of, my rent is paid, right? But if it wasn't, and I was thrown into the street with nowhere to go, I would be pretty much in the exact same situation that I was already in 6 years ago. Nowhere to go, no money, being sexually assaulted in the street for no fucking reason. No criminal record, college education. You don't break people who are standing on a tightrope out of life. If you have been tasked with breaking people, if there's no way to escape that role, you better fucking find someone who is so solid that by breaking them, you may cause possibly a bruise that heals and repairs itself. You don't break a person that you're gonna fucking push off the tightrope and they're gonna break into a million fucking pieces like Humpty Dumpty that are irreparable. And people don't understand most of what I'm talking about, so I have to go slow with these things. But yeah, there's a lot of sex with inmates and staff at these prisons. There's a lot of manipulation. There's a lot of promises. And when you get into the space of white collar crime, and you have these criminals with money, or even if they don't have any money, all they need is a cell phone to start making money again, or their crew or team, or, a couple of dollars to start making money again. These people working in the prisons are getting paid just above minimum wage, boo-boo. You don't think that they will be easily incentivized by someone with the power and the money, or the ability to make the power and the money? Absolutely. Absolutely. And this is what I had to witness and experience from my husband. And this is a man who I fell in love with, after 3 months of being together, and he got on one knee in an environment where you're not even allowed to have physical contact and proposed to me with Louis Vuitton vase filled with handmade roses and a ring that he whittled out of a melted milk carton. You know, I don't know what else to say. He came home and he fucked me over. And rather than the reality show being about overcoming adversity, surviving adversity, and doing well in life, he and the producers behind my back and without my permission made me the bad guy. They made me, I was in real life, I was the one like, Dylan, what the fuck? We need to get to the house. Your parole officer's on the way there. We need to go now. Not in 5 minutes, not in 10 minutes, right now. But when you roll out the video, the reality show footage, it's Dylan in an interview. Oh my God, Heather, she was taking forever. And I just kept on looking at the time thinking, if I don't get home, you know, I could end up back in prison if I don't get home and meet and check in with this parole officer. Meanwhile, the reality of the situation is it's me and my aunt calling his parole officer, telling them, where are you? What time you to be here? We're on our way home. It's me arguing with the producers and the TV show saying, we have no time for this. We need to leave now. No, we don't have time to set for sushi. No, we don't have time to go here or there. We've got to go. And that's the truth. Whoever you believe in, Satan, God, that's the truth on all of them and everyone in between. But that's not the way they depicted me in the reality show. In the reality show, they depicted me as a fucking asshole who didn't care about Dylan being late, who didn't care about much of anything but herself. And the truth could not be further from the depiction that they created. Could not be further. As a result, I've suffered in numerous ways. I've had difficulty retaining employment since that time. I've been stalked. I was held in a tent. I was sexually assaulted. I was separated from my son, Weston Mateo Gillespie, who's now turning 2. My big kids have not been able to live with me. They've been pawned off on family members because I have been literally put through hell on earth. The violent victimizations that took place since 2019 have included but not been limited to being beat up by an officer at 14 weeks pregnant while laying in a defenseless position on a yoga mat after clearly articulating to the officer that I was at the gazebo for a photo shoot and asking if it was acceptable for us to be there. And the Xavier, true or false? And did the officer say we could be there? And did I not tell the officer that if there was anything that they needed, if they needed us to move for any reason, to let us know? And did the officer say, there's absolutely no problem with you being here, but just don't leave your stuff alone, because if you leave all of your equipment alone, it might not be here when you get back? Can you? I don't think they can hear you. So they beat me up on camera with premeditated. They came in with gloves. I was eyes closed, laying on a yoga mat. They grabbed me by my arm, dragged me around. I was 14 weeks pregnant, threw me to the floor face first, and then held me in a cell for approximately, how many hours, babe? 5, 6 hours? With no instruction, no charges, no nothing. So that would be unlawful detainment number 2. They did a lot of things along those lines, and very similar to that. They allowed other people to physically and sexually assault me and look the other way. I turned in sheets, bed sheets with body fluids. It looked like ejaculate on them from my last apartment in Harwood Heights. There was no investigating, no DNA tests were run, no nothing. Literally nothing ever came of it at all whatsoever. They have squeezed me for all of my money. I paid all of my tickets from 2019 in 2019 and 20. They were about $600 worth of tickets. They put a boot on my car for them, and my great-grandmother, Mama Nellie, met me at the ticket payment place with $800 cash. I went directly in and paid it, and they removed the boot and assessed a zero balance with the tickets. The tickets were already on a payment plan. I just purged all of them out by paying in full. When I came back to start driving again, they said that I owed $5,000 worth of tickets and put me on payment plans for five grand worth of tickets. Now I have to pay 75 plus about 30 every single month. Thank you. Every single month for tickets from 2019 that I didn't even get. They also have record of a second boot being placed on my car in 2020 during the period of time when Dylan had my car without my permission. Keep in mind that I kept trying to break up and leave the relationship, and he would go out to the garage where I kept my car and do things like unplug my starter. I don't know how to fucking plug in a starter. So of course I would be stranded there, trapped, while he did weird sex shit and fucking set people up. Police knew. The FBI knew. No one came in to help me. So a plethora of agencies and people doing things to stand in my way from not being raped, from not being physically assaulted, from not being financially manipulated and assaulted, from not being separated from my children. They all sat by watching because of what they perceived they could receive from Dylan if they did not help me. And that is the truth. That is the truth. I called law enforcement after Dylan choked me, picked me up on my neck, threw me on the ground, started stomping on me. He was a huge guy on steroids. I have videos and photos of him admitting to doing it. I don't have any, reason to continue to circulate them. They're up, and they're mainly up because they threw me outside into the fucking street during winter, during summer, during all fucking months for nearly 4.5 years, impregnated me and forced me to sleep on cement outdoors at a yacht club in a tent through winter. Xavier and I were the only people there. We were not living in a city of tents. We were living in a tent at Belmont Harbor Yacht Club, keeping as much distance as possible from any homeless person, and calling law enforcement every single week, 3 to 5 times a week, along with shelter services, asking for assistance and being blatantly denied that assistance. All of which is thoroughly documented and has been presented to the court on a number of occasions. Yet here we are almost 2 years later, still fighting for custody of our son and for our DCFS visits. Getting harassed by some operatives who are trying to recreate the entire set of circumstances, incentivizing my attorney to say things that have already been brought up and resolved in court 10, 20 times. My situation is not at all kosher. The things that have gone on, they've not been acceptable by anyone's standards, no matter who you are or what you live by. Also, there have been other blatant issues. They're affecting time. Yeah, I know that sounds wild, but they're absolutely doing it. I do a GPS that says 37 minutes to your destination. I get in the car, I take that exact route. If there are people who are taking longer than me who want to come with, which I don't know who they would be because I travel alone with Xavier, I don't have a group. If there's a group following me, lock them up for stalking. And I need to be at the gym by 10 to 8, 7:50. I leave the house at 7 a.m. every fucking day. It doesn't take 50 minutes to drive to the gym. The GPS projects that it takes 37. I've never arrived there before 8:15. With the exception of that one time I was using the GPS. It's been like this for 5 years. 5 years. And I've already come out on the other side. I've already, explained everything and explained it. No one is, getting out of bed in the morning and saying, how can we intervene in this and set the record straight? And I think that that's the main problem. I have a whole entire life to live ahead of me. I have the education. I have never voluntarily engaged in any sort of fraud. I have never stolen someone's credit card for the use or purpose of committing fraud. But the people you people interested in my commentary and my content are looking for, the people who you are looking for, they're definitely still getting away with fraud every day. But it's not me, and you're in the wrong fucking place being here at my page. You're at the wrong place inhibiting me from being able to use a laptop computer. They stole 3 of my laptops, my MacBook Air and 2 Google Chromebooks. I have not been able to use a computer for any reason. Do you understand me? Not for my businesses, not for sales, not for any fucking thing. Since 2023, when my last laptop was stolen from Xavier's father's garage bin, and along with a bunch of my other clothes and yoga equipment and lighting and production equipment, and it was never replaced. And it's on camera with law enforcement because they came that same day that it was stolen. They know that it's all mine. Where is it? Naked wardrobe outfits from Nordstrom, like $300 or $400, brand new, that I had maybe a week, that another undercover, Juan, had purchased for me after all the rest of my clothing got stolen. None of this is new. It's already been documented. But that's number 5. So that's going to lead us up to the time I met Xavier. Besides all of the getting beat up by a cop, sexually assaulted a number of times, being forced to walk back and forth from O'Hare to downtown Chicago, being withheld food, money, communication. There's just a million things that they've done to me that I've reported on. That's going to bring us to the end of 5. There are 7 or 8 people who either presented themselves as undercover members of law enforcement or other resources, people who could help me.
Oh, buddy. Oh, stop. Stop, buddy.
To protect me from whatever was going on. And I've written about them in my book, but I'm going to keep their names out of this just for peace's sake. You know, and I'll pick up tomorrow with part 6 out of 12. And when we begin part 6 out of 12, it's going to start with meeting Xavier, the circumstances of which we met, how we met, why we met, where we met, what was going on around that time. I was still right in the middle, into the thick of it.